lol, Austin Theory attempted to cash in Money in the Bank, not on Roman Reigns, the World Heavyweight Champion, not on Bron Breakker, the World NXT Champion, or the NXT World Champion. No, instead he decided to do it on Seth Rollins, the US Champion, on a night when Seth had 2 open challenges.
Arguably, the US is in the world.
I mean, it is, yeah. It's fine.
So, it never said it had to be the whole world title.
Well, no, I mean, it didn't even specify that it had to be a world championship. Just guarantees you a champion.
That's true.
Championship opportunity. And
go.
so, Austin Theory's like, well, I'm not going to beat old Roman, am I? But I can beat a very hurt Seth.
Let's play.
And it didn't
logic game.
It didn't work out for him at all. I am Luke Owen, DAD. I'm joined by Professor Dan Layton. Welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast review of Monday Night Raw. Please, if this is your first time here, press the subscribe button. But if you've been here before and you're watching live, press the thumbs up button. Even if you're watching the replay, when you just press that thumbs up.
It.
Just give it a little press.
Just press it.
Give it a little tickle right now. It's a delightful thing, and it massively helps us out in the algorithm as we talk about this main event angle. Oh, and actually, you can get your thoughts in to WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out all Ultrachats above the $5 level. So please do get your thoughts in, because I'd imagine people have got some thoughts on this.
Just 1 or 2 thoughts. It's been a very quiet splash in the pool of wrestling culture.
Yeah, so I have not read the comments.
Have you read the comments for your review?
My edited review. I have not read the comments from my edited review yet.
Have you been on wrestling Twitter?
I don't go on it as much as I once did. I've got to be honest with you. A lot of people were really bummed out about my review I did for Crown Jewel, where I gave it 4 out of 5, because I didn't think I thought the show was fine with an amazing main event. Yeah. But I was reading through the comments, and everyone hated my opinions. So I'm just really down at the moment on wrestling feedback. So I haven't been checking.
I'm with you, because it's a thing. This is the same with Drag Race. A lot of the Drag Race fandom is quite... I've never known people to hate the thing that they love so much as Drag Race fandom. And it's sort of... There's a similarity in some of the internet wrestling community. But sometimes a little thing happens where it's a bit spicy. And you're like, I'd love to take part in this discourse and see what everyone's... So not only have I read Twitter, I've also read Reddit. I've been having a little look at all the things. And people do be having opinions. People do be having them.
When I listened to the Fightful post show with Sean and Denise, the feedback they were getting was not particularly positive about this segment. I think there are some people who will defend the logic of this, because there's 2 discussions to be had here.
Yeah.
The logic of a man who, on the same night that the champion issued 2 open challenges, decided now is the time to cash in my Money in the Bank for not the world title, but for the US title, where title shots are handed out like candy.
Yeah.
Versus the other discussion on this, which is, it's another year where not a great Money in the Bank cash-in has happened.
Yeah.
And kind of when you look back at the last... I can't say decade, because I think like Seth was the last truly great Money in the Bank cash-in. The height of the century.
I would argue that cash-in was you can't beat that. How do you beat that?
But I don't even think people need to beat that. But that was the last truly great cash-in.
Yes,
and everything after that has been... okay, mediocre, not great. Braun was a really bad one. They gave it to Otis with no plans to ever put the belts on him, so he just handed it to The Miz, so that wasn't a great one either. Big E is the only, good one that we've had. And even then, really, it was just an okay cash-in. He just cashed it in and he won. But because it was so better than the last, 7 years we had previous to that, it was like, oh my God, they've nailed Money in the Bank again. But this with Theory... this is quite a bad one.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think a Money in the Bank cash-in as a moment can be something quite unbelievable. Quite, height of the century. I remember being on my feet. I remember when the very first one, when Edge cashed in at the end of... we'd never seen that happen. We'd never seen it happen, so it was a completely fresh thing.
He'd had it for so long as well. He had it for almost a full year.
He carried it right the way through to New Year's Revolution. I remember the first time someone cashed it in on the very same night they won it. I remember these, and I remember it being like, oh, exciting, oh, different.
RVD announcing ahead of time.
That was interesting.
I'm cashing this in for one night stand on my home turf.
The first time someone won the briefcase from the owner of the briefcase. There have been a lot of different story variations done with this briefcase. And I do think those moments can be moments within themselves. They are then backed up by what does the reign look like, I think. Big E great cash-in situation, mediocre title run.
Yeah, he had some matches with Bobby Lashley, and then he lost to Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, and I think even he himself was disappointed in how that run turned out. I look at someone like Seth. Let's take Seth for instance. They that period where he had the US title as well. It was very much like he is the guy.
He was the guy,
and it was an entertaining, engaging run.
He broke his leg carrying the company on his back.
He literally did exactly that.
Blew out his knee.
So it's one of those things where handing someone the Money in the Bank briefcase is a statement. You're basically telling us this is someone who you imagine is a world title contender. And by giving it to Austin Theory, I think a lot of us went, huh?
Because it was a Vince project.
Yes.
Because Vince had clearly handpicked him. Like, you don't even need to be reading the news websites to know that Vince saw him as not just this next guy, his next John Cena was the report. Because Vince was involved in his storylines. He was his handpicked guy. He was literally on TV being like, he's my handpicked guy.
And
look how great
his
ass is.
At this point.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like he's got this golden egg and all this sort of gubbins, right? So then him going into Money in the Bank, it's just like, cool, this is the next step of the big Vince push that he's getting. Nikki don't think he's going to beat Roman, but I'm sure they've got something planned for him. They just want to try and carry on this momentum. But with Roman as champion, it was always this question of like, well, I mean, Theory's likely going to cash in and not win, but at least it's cashing in, it's putting in a good showing, and then not winning in the end.
Yeah.
And there was a report that came out fairly recently that said that WWE had found out, the creative had found a unique way for Austin Theory's Money in the Bank cash in.
Yeah.
And they didn't say whether he was going to win or lose. I don't know if this is that unique thing that they come up with, which is that he cashed in on the US champion. But but the only positive I can take from this, sorry, I don't want to come no. The only positive I can take from this is that it has set a brand new precedent, which is you can cash in on the US champ. Like, or, he went to NXT and teased a cash in there. Like, you can cash in on any other champion. It doesn't specifically have to be the world champion. But for my money, if you've got the Money in the Bank briefcase and you're not cashing it on a world champion, you are making an error.
Well, yeah, because the phrase is Money in the Bank. So the argument is you are becoming the champion, you are getting that top paycheck because you are top of the card, because you are the world champion. That's why it's Money in the Bank. And I think if we're trying to believe that it's not, people aren't just doing this for prestige. There's also, you win a championship, you can command a higher fee. That's kind of the point. So it is a weird cashing in on any championship is kind of interesting. It's an interesting idea. I'm not sold on it personally because I remember when back in the days when WWE ECW was happening, Tommy Dreamer was entering the Royal Rumble, and I remember them being like, if he wins, he's going to go after that ECW championship. And then I remember, if it's not the same one, another one, Chavo Guerrero as ECW champion entered the Royal Rumble, and I was like, okay, you just told me that this championship isn't as good as the other two because those two aren't in the match. And that for me was like, it's the same thing of like, why? If you have this Money in the Bank briefcase, you can have a championship opportunity anytime you want, and you don't choose to insert yourself into that big money world title picture. It's a little bit weird to me.
When Otis had it, we used to get a lot of Ultrachats in saying like, oh, Otis will cash in on the tag championships. And I was like, well, why would you do that? Because everyone gets a tag title shot. Like, tag title shots are handed out like anything. In the same way the US title shots are handed out a lot. Well, Seth tried to hand out 2 on this very show.
I even was a little bit confused by why he was issuing an open challenge, but he wasn't allowing Ali the challenge, like that he had sort of said. Did Ali have a title match, or was it just two matches?
No, I think it was just matches.
Ali had said like, oh, I've been told I can have a title match, and then Seth was like, no, actually. And now Seth is doing not 1 but 2 open challenges, and it's like
Ali had his chance to answer, but Bobby Lashley beat him up.
And let me tell you, when he got thrown over that briefcase, I absolutely was like, I was living. That was fantastic. But it was this thing of like logic. Like, I don't know, there was a lot of, and not to give spoilers for the whole show, I was quite cross for this. I felt the show, I basically felt like I watched a tech rehearsal of the proper Monday Night Raw, because there was a lot that went wrong, but what I could see throughout the show, and we have sort of seen a little bit here and there through the Triple H era, is a little bit like he's sort of pressing the reset button. And if you've got the Money in the Bank on Austin Theory, and we know Austin Theory is not the right person to take the title off Roman, You can't really book him between now and, let's say, WrestleMania to become that person. No one in the crowd believes it. What do? You have to get it off him. There are ways to do that. There are ways to play with that. And I just don't think this was it.
No, I mean, perhaps this is just, us veering into fantasy booking and, like getting into our own head of like what great ideas, we could possibly do or what great storylines they could possibly do. But I really dug the idea of Theory being the first person to hold the Money in the Bank contract for an entire year and not cash in. Because they had been setting that up. Like he tried at SummerSlam and didn't work.
Taking it back.
And then he tried at Clash of the Castle and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And like you can do that. Like anytime Roman is on the show, Theory is trying to do it and like whoop, slips on a banana peel and it doesn't quite happen. And then it comes to as reports go, we're not going to have a Money in the Bank pay-per-view next year. We're just going to have Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, like it was previously. I would imagine night 1, night 2, men's and women's.
Yeah.
So if you could have had a storyline going up until WrestleMania of him trying to do this and failing and slipping on banana peels or what have you, and then it becoming this ticking time bomb for him of like
a lead weight around his neck.
A lead weight around his neck. I've got to do this. And then that's a story for him.
Yeah.
Or you could have done a story of him announcing that he's going to cash in Roman. It's like, I've got next. I'm going to challenge you at the pay-per-view, and then trying to like recruit a bunch of lads together to take out the bloodline and stuff, with Alpha Academy and whatnot. No one was ever going to buy Austin Theory as a legit challenger in the same way that no one believed that Logan Paul was going to win the Universal Championship. But you can put on a really good match like Logan Paul did, and everyone's now like, man, that Logan Paul lad's really, really great. Like, maybe we should be doing bigger things with him when he does come back from his injury. You could have had that same thing with Austin Theory, because Austin Theory's bloody good.
Yeah, he is good, and he's got a good look, and he's got a good... he's got charisma. He's good in the ring. He knows what he's doing on the mic. He's got a good physique. He looks the part. He's just not there yet.
Yeah.
I think... it's just the thing that's frustrating for me is that there are logic gaps in this.
It's huge logic gaps in this.
So, for instance, Seth's open challenge never actually got underway. No. So it's not like that Bobby match started and then was disqualified. The bell never rang. Bobby just attacked him and then left the arena. So the open challenge technically was still there. So why have you wasted your Money in the Bank opportunity?
Yeah. Or just wait till next week.
I have seen one person be like, open challenge may have been rescinded and the cash-in has to happen whenever you're ready. It's like, well, he's not quite.
In the same way that there is the argument of like he took advantage of Seth being prone because, so if you haven't seen what happened on the episode, Seth had this open challenge. It was meant to be answered earlier in the night, but that turned into a Judgment Day and OC battle. So Seth did it in the main event, doing his full entrance again.
Yep.
It's a good way to kill time. And on the big screen, Mustafa Ali answered, but Bobby Lashley beat him up. Yeah. And so Bobby Lashley then accepted. Bobby Lashley then did his full entrance because we are trying to kill time here. And he then just knocked Seth out of the ring, beats 7 shades of sushi out of him, and takes him out, puts him through a table, and referee, security, and most importantly, P.T. Williams was there to break everything up. P.T. Williams was on the show. It is an instant 5 out of 5 episode for me, of course. Hit a Canadian Destroyer on someone, P.E. And then Lashley is then escorted to the back and he's celebrating, being like, yeah, who's the real winner? I'm like, Seth, because he's still the champion. Not you, mate, who just squandered your open challenge opportunity.
Yeah.
And then Theory just comes out.
And I will say at this point, I was sort of leaning, for the first time in most of the show, I was leaning forward at this point because I was like into the intensity.
As was I.
Really into the fact that, okay, we're getting this double turn, and I will get onto that, but that is the big good thing that I take away from this is that we have some interesting future, but we've got a double turn has taken place. So I'm leaning forward, Theory comes out, and I'm like, what's happening next? And I'm curious, and my brow is furrowed.
Going into an ad break, and it really was like now I've got to stick around. Yes. Because like when Bobby attacked, and like I could, Theory came out, and I was like, oh, maybe that's the end of the show. And then I forwarded, and I was like, oh, there's still 15 minutes left of this show. So I'm then like forwarding through the ad break, really on the edge of my seat, waiting to see what was going to happen next. And we come back from the ad break, and they announce Austin Theory is cashing in Money in the Bank. And it's against Seth Rollins, who is hurt. He is weak. And Theory just again beats him up, but cannot get the pin. And in the end, he does have the match won.
Yeah.
But Bobby Lashley pulls the referee out of the ring. He then beats up Austin Theory. Austin Theory just about manages to beat the 10 count because security did not run to help out Austin Theory, even though they did for Seth Rollins earlier. Another big logic hole here. And Austin Theory just runs straight into a stomp, and Seth retains. This was an absolute burial of poor Austin Theory, who looked like an absolute moron in this whole segment. And it's hard then to be like, I don't know what you were trying to achieve in this other than just getting the briefcase off of him, because it was an albatross around his neck that has been holding back his storylines. Now that he's got that, you can hit the reset button on Austin Theory and just start again.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like, okay, we've got rid of the Money in the Bank thing, so we can put Money in the Bank on ice until we decide to do another ladder match with their WrestleMania, if that's what's going to happen, or you know.
And I think with them killing the 24/7 title,
it was
like,
I was gonna say, this is the
last remnants of a Vince era.
Yes, it was very. This is what I mean by pressing reset. It was very much like you were saying, right, I'm getting rid of these things, because when you inherit the longest running weekly episodic show on television, you have no like between season breaks to go, okay, let's sit down in the writers' room and let's go, this worked, this didn't work, this worked, this didn't. What do we do going forward? How do we change things? You kind of, there are open storylines without coming on television and going, hi everybody, Vince is a big old perv, so we can't do what we were gonna do. So
allegedly,
so sorry, we're gonna start again, and we're gonna, press the complete reset button. All the championships are vacant.
The Vince Russo method.
Yeah, literally. without doing 2000, 2001 WCW, you can't. You have to carry on in some way. You have to find a way to this person has Money in the Bank. Let's take a couple of weeks to see whether or not we can build them to the point where they're a credible challenger. It's not happening. Okay, so how do we get that briefcase off him? How do we bring this to an end? The US title is sort of doing nothing, and we have both titles currently on Roman Reigns, and that is working. So we need to create something for the Raw wrestlers to fight for, because the champ ain't here every week, and we need to keep him as that big match, big event player to keep his mystique. So let's build up the US title. Okay, cool, we're going to do that. Women's championship, we're going to do that. With this, what are we going to do with all these pieces? And I think we are seeing that come to fruition here in some way, in getting rid of the 24/7, in getting rid of the briefcase. It's just the way it went down.
Yeah.
In the moment, I was kind of like, okay, yeah. And I was buying it because I was into the intensity, because for the first time in the show, I was sat forward. But then the more I've sat with it, the more I've been, thinking about it and understanding what was going on and the logic of things. I'm like, yeah, well, he could have just gone for the open challenge because it hadn't started. Why would you not save it for a WrestleMania main event? You could have done this with the story. You couldn't. And the more and more I've got really annoyed at it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
because there are like just so many logic holes to it.
Yeah.
It isn't good. Like this was not good booking. This was not good storytelling.
Yeah.
But I was sports entertained by it.
Which,
like I thought the chaotic nature of this final 20 minutes, from the Mustafa Ali being taken out by Bobby Lashley, and then Bobby Lashley killing Seth Rollins, and then Austin Theory cashing in, and then Bobby costing that, and then Rollins winning in the end. It was just this mad 20 minutes that really was like, considering that the third hour of Raw is always the least watched hour.
Yes.
This felt like almost a desperate attempt to get people to stick around and watch that third hour and make people think like, oh man, well now next week I've got to watch the third hour again in case something equally chaotic happens.
And it works because I was like, who could it be?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I actually in a way loved this. I don't think it's good. Which is a weird thing to say, because it's not good, and I think it is damaging to certain people. But I did love this. Because it was so chaotic and unpredictable, and that's the kind of things we've been asking for from wrestling. You want your consistent level storytelling.
Anything can happen.
But you also want that anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation feeling, like that chaotic nature that used to end Monday Night Raws during the Attitude Era and during like Ruthless Aggression, less than Ruthless Aggression, more Attitude Era and stuff. And I think that Triple H has now just got to find that balance, where you have got consistent storytelling with good wrestling and also that massively chaotic nature of anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. So yeah, this isn't good, but I did like it.
Which is such a weird feeling. It is also accurate.
It is a weird feeling. And it was quite remarkable because I did, when I was on checking wrestling Twitter and stuff, and I was seeing like Gorilla Position, hated this episode.
Right.
Said it was the worst episode of the Triple H era. People who were feeding back into the Fightful post show were like, this is the worst episode that Triple H has done. And I'm there on the train platform ready to come into London and write my review. And I'm like, I actually really enjoyed this episode. Like, when that show finished, I was like, that's a 5 out of 5 episode. Because
really?
I honestly, because I came away being like, I had so much fun. I saw P.D. Williams, and like, it was just, and plus, I thought the OC and Judgment Day stuff was really good. And I loved the Gargano Miz match. I thought it was it was an awesome wrestling match.
I will say, when I watched your review and you praised the Miz, I was like, I've done it. I've done it.
But so like I did come away, and then when I did my review, I was like, I in my script it said this was a 5 out of 5 show. But the more I thought about it, and I read it out loud, I was like, this isn't a 5 out of 5 show.
Do you really want to die on that hill?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to die on that hill. But I did ultimately enjoy this episode.
I mean, this is like different strokes, and people can enjoy what they enjoy. I always do when I do like any film review or anything like that. I always have to say you should know that one of my favorite films of all time is Singing in the Rain. Another one of my favorite films is 12 Angry Men. Another one of my favorite films of all time is Monster-in-Law, starring Jennifer Lopez and Jane Fonda. That people like what they like, and there's no, we all can like different stuff, and that works, especially when it comes to wrestling. So if you enjoyed this segment, good for you, and I like that. But it's one of those things where, from a storytelling perspective, and I have a lot to say about storytelling in this episode of Raw. And even just from a production standpoint, and even just from a professionalism standpoint in certain places, I was so cross a lot of the time. So I kind of do add my voice to the people who really considered this to be a dreadful episode of Raw. I don't think it's certainly not something that's going to make me go, Triple H doesn't know how to book, Triple H is rubbish, because I just don't think. And if you are of that opinion, and I know there are people in the internet wrestling community who are of that opinion, fine, go off. But I just don't think that's the case. It was in this one where I'm like, Christ, you have to sift through a lot of tap that you basically it's like he's walking around in storylines going, what happened here, what scraps can I pick up, and what can I put together, and that's not quite going to work, so I've got to it's that stuff is going down.
I tell you what this episode was. It's not the first bad episode we've seen from Triple H. It's the first jet-lagged episode we've seen from Triple H.
That's a very good way of putting it.
That's what this show felt like, was just jet lag, and Triple H was just like, I don't, screw it, just do this.
And even with the extra hour from the American Daylight Savings Time over the Sunday,
screw it. Dana Brooke loses the belt, and then we throw it in the bin. I don't care anymore.
Sure, why not?
Sure, he cashes in, and it's unsuccessful. Whatever. Like, just end the show.
I also feel like when it is a weekly. The thing about saying that this was for me a bad episode is that there'll be another one next week. I don't think it's to say this was bad, this was good. We're also in this like perennium of the year, the gooch of the year, if I'm allowed to say that on the WrestleTalk podcast.
You are here.
There we go. Where like not a lot goes down, and it's sort of a bit weird, and like I always look forward to, okay, we're going to build to the Royal Rumble, and I feel, and come back to me after WrestleMania 39 and see whether or not I still feel this way and be like, you still as confident in this? I'm like, that's when we're going to get the Triple H era in full effect.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? After we've had that, because for me, the season opener of any Raw, sure, it's in October, whatever. It's in Royal Rumble territory. When we get to the Royal Rumble, we have that run of WrestleMania. Now we're at this is where we're starting. This is where we're setting stuff out.
Good save.
Thank you very much.
Let's get into your Ultrachats and see what you thought of this episode of Raw. Eak Nichols.
Lots to say.
We have a lot of people have got some things to say. Eak Nichols has said, buried. I've never seen the Money in the Bank used as a shuffle before. This could be worse than Baron Corbin or Damien Sandow. At least they went for the top title. I've always had issues with Austin Theory, so I'm not heartbroken about Money in the Bank. It is a bit obsolete now. Anyway, jam that jam. BITW, BTA, WrestleTalk for life. I hope Triple H, here's my big hope from Triple H. He rescues Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
And makes Money in the Bank feel like that, because
to feel like Money in the Bank.
It's not that difficult to do. There was a period of time when the Royal Rumble did not feel important anymore because we just had bad Rumble after bad Rumble after bad Rumble. But the Rumble is always, because it's got that sort of like emphasis behind it, it's just like, but maybe this year will be the good one. I hope we can get back to Money in the Bank where it's like, this year will be the good one again.
I really do believe you're only as good as your last cash-in. and like, you know,
And this was not a good one.
No, it wasn't.
Why anyone, this is from Ket, said, why anyone would cash in on a mid-card title and not the top title is beyond me. There's no logical reason anyone can give me that would make any sense for a wrestler to do that. Much rather had Theory fail his cash in on Roman rather than this BS.
Because if you lose to Roman, there's no shame in losing to Roman Reigns. If you lose to a Seth Rollins who has been attacked by Bobby Lashley and to the point where that makes you look bad. Also, if you are, my example for Tommy Dreamer is that he eat, sleep, and breathe ECW. You know, Rob Van Dam was like, I'm cashing this in on the ECW One Night Stand pay-per-view because I eat, sleep, and breathe ECW. I love it. So if you have a justification, if Austin Theory had built his whole character, I wanted to be US champion, cash in on the US title, sure. This is a belt he's A, already won, and B, had threatened to not do a match because he wanted to save himself. He wasn't going to wrestle for the US title at SummerSlam because he was going to save himself for the big spot. So why?
Yeah.
You know? Again, logic.
FIFA Connor 16 said, I did think that it was odd Theory cashed in on the US title. What I did not consider is the 2 open challenges that had happened, which makes it even more stupid and funny.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Hannah Winter said, I agree that in story this makes no sense. Dean Ambrose was the best post-Seth cash-in. This was Trips doing chores in the episode. I've seen a lot of people
a good one.
Give a lot of love for Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, I agree.
In.
You're right. Yeah,
I do forget that happened, and I've just done Survival Series.
Yeah, I was going to say that was the night of the 3.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Banaka1192 has been a member for 15 months in a row. Said, why bother with Money in the Bank? It hasn't been good in years, but cashing in on not the main title, big grapefruits on Triple H there.
Trips has wanted to make the US title look good, and arguably you can make it so that the US title is that big and that important, like we've been saying, but this didn't jive with that. You know?
It didn't, no. Dave Donaldson said, wow, that was stupid. This is a bigger burial than when Baron Corbin lost. At least Jinder Mahal got his first clean victory as champion over Baron Corbin.
Well, there you go. Good for Jinder, eh?
At least he was challenging for a world title. Also, did you see Dana's reaction on Twitter to the 24/7 title that it was just chucked in the bin? At least the rivalry may have rode.
Between Dana Brooke and everyone else.
Dana Brooke and Corey Graves.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
So yeah, me and Pete will be diving into that on the WrestleTalk Reacts over on WrestleTalk News. That'll be going up in a couple of hours' time, in fact. So yes, I did. If anyone hasn't seen it, Dana Brooke was not pleased.
We'll get
to it. Will Campbell said, I know that almost nobody likes Austin Theory here, but he is an excellent worker and an even better seller. Kind of feel like Trips broke out the golden shovel. Hopefully this starts something better for him, but it looks like he was done dirty here. This is also one of the first times where I would say like the just let it play out argument, which I think is a very, very bad argument under the Vince era.
Yeah.
Might be one of the first times where I'm like, well, I'll see what happens next week. But under the Trips era, Austin Theory has lost all of his matches.
Yeah.
Apart from today.
You're not, well, and you're not, he's not ready yet. He's just not ready. That's the long and short of it.
That is it. He was given this, we said this from day dot of when he won the thing. Bearing in mind, I actually didn't think, that was like 4 months ago.
No, it feels like ages.
Yeah.
It wasn't 4.
July, right?
Oh my goodness gracious.
It felt like Austin Theory had that thing for so long.
Yeah,
But is it 4 months?
Gotta be.
October, September, August.
If it was July, then yeah, 4.
He only had that thing for 4 months.
That feels like a long time.
And he had that. Honestly, it felt like he's had it for a year.
Yeah. Goodness gracious.
The Tribal Champ said, first time Ultrachatter, welcome on board. Said, I believe that the US title cash-in will be invalid. Someone executive next week will probably come to Theory saying the cash-in was invalid due to the cash-in not being on a world title. I thought that was going to happen when Bobby beat him up.
Yeah.
When Bobby took him outside and like laid him out, I wrote in my notes, this is how they're going to get out of the cash-in. And so the cash-in was just done to pop the rating. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the match continued. I was like, oh, nope, it's Seth just won, I guess.
If they do that, I'll be fuming because that is shenanigans of the highest order and I don't like it.
Sorry, I'm just watching everyone freak out that, it was July 2nd that he won the belt. Everyone is freaking out that it was only 4 months ago.
I can't believe that. Time is a flat circle. I don't
think of how much has changed in those 4 months.
Oh my God, you're right.
In both companies as well.
Yeah.
In WWE and AEW.
What a year the past 4 months have been.
This year's been so bad. Everyone's forgotten that Vince fired his own son this year.
Oh my God, this year?
because he acted like a complete spoiled child in the Rumble.
He did as well. Goodness me.
The Guilty Hat said, at the end of the day, we all could have come up with a better story for Money in the Bank. My personal pitch was to have Sammy take it. But my question is, what do you do with Theory now? Lad's been given a bad hand, and it's a real shame. I hope he can bounce back. He can bounce back.
So that's it. Like he's only 25. Like he's not.
Oh yeah.
It's Randy Orton. When Randy Orton won the World Championship when he was that young in 2004. That really didn't work out quite as well as we'd hoped that it would. But it's Randy Orton. Look at him now. You know, these things. He's got time. He's got
loads of
time, and with a more generous booker, you know, it's fine.
Triple H clearly likes him because he liked him in NXT.
This is it. I also think that I've heard this thing about having Sammy take it a couple of times, and I will say I like the idea of that, but I only like that's the hindsight thing because in July. This Sammy thing wasn't in the level it is now.
No.
So if Sammy had won it in July and then we got to here, that would be really tasty. But it's why would Sammy win the Money in the Bank briefcase? Because Sammy would just cash it in and lay flat. Yeah. That it's a nice idea, but a lot.
Can I give you the pitch I gave?
Please.
So I've said this on a number of podcasts now. So I apologize for those who have heard this already. He accidentally wins a #1 contendership match for Elimination Chamber, which is in Montreal. And then the entire month's build for that is him being like, look, I'm not going to fight you, Tribal Chief. I'll just lay down for you. But, looks at the title, picks up the title, hands it to him, this, that, and the other. And then at Elimination Chamber, goes for one sneaky roll-up. And then when Roman kicks out of it, Roman's face of like, sorry, what now? And then Sammy's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It was instinct. Something just kicked in. And Jey Uso on the outside screaming, I told you so, and this and the other. And that's when you do the babyface turn in Montreal.
To build up to WrestleMania and then having a proper match.
Either that or it's Seth and Kevin versus the Usos for the tag belts.
Whoa. Okay, don't fantasy book me into because
no, I know, but it's my idea.
That's a good idea.
I had it on Thursday last week, and it's been bubbling in my mind ever since.
The Montreal element of that is the real kicker.
Benjamin Gabriel, we've got a couple more Ultrachats that we want to do here. Benjamin Gabriel has been a member for 8 months, said, I like the idea of having Money in the Bank cashed in on any championship. My dislike of this segment is that it makes Austin Theory look like a loser.
Yeah.
That it did. Ten Ruzza said, hey lads, this Money in the Bank segment, this Raw and this crowd were the worst.
So bad.
The crowd were awful. Happy for Money in the Bank go to Mania again. Happy to get rid of the 24/7 title. Please unify the women's tag titles. I guess that means with the NXT ones.
Yeah.
Dan, you're the best. You're a legend and you have the best laugh.
Thanks very much.
You, Adam, and Sullivan for live reactions.
That would be the laughter, and that one would be like 3 separate versions of laughs. It would be, yeah.
And lastly for now, Hewling Jonathan has been donated to say, I think this sets a precedent for other things to happen with Money in the Bank. One example could be Woods winning Money in the Bank, then cashing on the IC belt. It's been a goal of his to win. With Walter making the IC, it could mean more. It could be a big moment for Xavier Woods. Could be, but I also don't think you need Money in the Bank for that. You could just have him win the World Cup.
But the idea of...
because the World Cup starts this Friday, and it is for a shot at Walter.
Yeah, it is. And the idea of a Money in the Bank really is... If you had the Money in the Bank, unless you really cared about specifically that title, you would want to have the big one because it gets you the most Money in the Bank.
So we're going to crack on with the show now. We've gone very long on that opening segment, so we have. There was a lot to say, but so let's go through what else happened on this show. And the first 45 minutes of this show were on this first segment here, which was the Bloodline coming out, which were the Usos and Solo Sikoa, New Day coming out, and it led to a 6-man tag. 45 minutes of the show was taken up by this. It is a 3-hour show, so you do have to fill time. But that is also the company just relying on the Bloodline to fill up that time. And I thought every single element of this, bar 2 things, were awesome.
I think we are in complete lockstep on this.
The crowd not reacting to anything that was said, and Matt Riddle.
Ultimate boner killer Matt Riddle.
Wasn't he just?
I loved this segment so much.
So
the crowd,
good.
No, I was like, why aren't the crowd? Because they are giving some.
Amazing.
Amazing promos. The reason the company rely on the bloodline to go is because they are good. They are all... The reason this bloodline story is so good is because they have all nailed their character. I love it when they speak. I love what they've got to say. I believe what they've got to say. And the same is true of the New Day. And I know that this is the feud, the New Day and the Bloodline, specifically the Usos, which is like the feud that never dies. But that was then, all right? This is now with a New Day that haven't been at the top for a long time, and with the bloodline with the Usos that are better than they have ever been. This is a different ball game because it's legacy against legacy.
Ball game.
And I was so very good. And I was so in. And then Matt Riddle comes out, and I'm like so cross.
So because this wasn't wacky New Day either.
No.
This was deadly serious New Day.
Because this is serious stuff.
This is a legacy, this tag legacy that they have set of the longest reigning champions means the world to them.
And what they said about Wood saying, you know, I had to build a whole YouTube channel to gain relevancy. We were given scraps and we turned it to gold. What Kofi said about this, you know, we may never be the New Day again, probably like we were. So it's not about just, you know, taking the titles off you and having another reign. It's about protecting what was. It's about not letting the legacy of the New Day just disappear. Oh, that was so real.
It was so good because this was a conversation about who had the tougher roads.
Yes.
Because all four of them have had tough roads to get to this point. But the opposite sides think the other ones had things handed to them.
Yeah.
So like from New Day's perspective, it's like you were given your jobs here because of your lineage, because you're part of the Anoa'i dynasty. So you were always going to end up working here. Your dad's Rikishi.
Yeah.
And like you were trained from the word go to be the best. And the Usos' response to that was like, you have no idea what that pressure's like. Because yeah, like training under Rikishi, like look at the legacy that was set by him, and we've got to try and live up to that standard. Roman's the champion, like he's the guy, and we've got to try and in his shadow.
We're
and things
all
like
related to The Rock.
All related to The Rock. And then Woods was just like, we were sat in catering, wondering whether we were going to get fired. I started a YouTube channel because I needed to do something else in case this does come to an end, hoping that someone would take notice of us. And it did, and it still didn't work out for us. So we had to make New Day work, because New Day, I think a lot of people do forget, did not work.
Oh my God.
This company actively tried for this to not work, but the three of them made it work. I thought this was an awesome segment, and this crowd did not give a flying fig.
And I was
so cross with them.
Well, not only was I cross with them, I was also just like, what is not connecting?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Well,
and because the crowd is as much of a selling point to you as the viewer as anything else. So I was like, I'm buying this, but maybe I'm wrong watching this segment because the crowd is so dead. But no, this crowd were awful.
This crowd didn't react to anything all night.
That's what made me realize that actually this segment was
great.
Utterly destroyed by Boner Killer Matt Riddle. Oh, but I will say, do you know when he says hit the bong? It's actually very subtle and clever. I've only just clocked this.
All right, okay.
Because...
All right, okay. Yeah, you go.
Get into this. He's got two bongos. When you say hit the bong... However, he also likes to do marijuana, which you smoke in a bong.
Look, Dan, I know what you're doing here, and I'm just going to say it on this show, Dan.
It's a really clever joke.
I'm just going to say, Dan.
What?
I don't think the joke is funny anymore.
Thank you very much. It wasn't funny the first time.
It was funny the first time, Dan. Dan Layton, I put it to you. The right honourable gentleman, I put it to you. It was funny the first time.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker. The right honourable gentleman.
No. And he also, you, Matt Riddle, get the word Usi out of your mouth. By the way, I listened to the Blackpool...
Stop saying yeet and stuff as well.
I listened to the Blackpool Content Club, and you were dead right about this, because the Usi thing has happened for a couple of weeks.
Oh, the vindication I felt for that.
You were completely right. And it hasn't. It's still... fire. And there was a sign in the background saying feeling Usi, and I love that none of them said Usi, but Matt Riddle did, and I was like, you take it out of your mouth because you're about to ruin it. Boner Killer. Don't want it. So yeah, I was cross about that.
I mean, I know they were doing a 6-man tag, but also Matt Riddle interrupted New Day.
Could have been anyone.
He interrupted the baby faces and came out, and I was like, why are you here? And he never really explained why he was there, other than to say like, yo, bro, hit my bong, and then we'll have a 6-man tag.
Because then...
Okay, but Jimmy doing shaving a haircut was funny
because Jimmy's fire. Jimmy the boner resurrector. If I may.
Jimmy walked across and just going bum bum.
Yeah,
I thought it was really good.
I would have loved it, and I was willing for this to happen if he'd have, and then just smacked him in the face and hit that bomb.
That's not a Jimmy thing though. That's a Jay thing to do.
However, when then we start with the match because of my absolute fury takes a second to get going. But boy, when it gets going.
Oh, yeah.
I am so ready for Friday.
Yeah, me too.
Oh.
Because this match, the 6-man tag, served two purposes. It built up the tag this Friday of New Day versus the Usos for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships, and good job it did in that. But also, B, perhaps more importantly, man, it made Solo Sikoa look awesome. Oh, yeah. Solo Sikoa looked rad in this match. And he was the man that pinned Matt Riddle as well. Matt Riddle, absolutely the right person to take the fall in this. Solo Sikoa, the right person to get the pin in this. Because it's not New Day or Usos pinning each other.
Yes, you could have had any of the... I think the heels were the right ones to go over full stop, but you could have had any of the heels pin Matt Riddle. By choosing Solo to be the one to do it, you put Solo over as well.
Love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... This was a home run segment, but the crowd did not buy it because they didn't buy anything. And Matt Riddle was objectively terrible.
Yeah. And if what you said in your review is true, someone had apparently told you that they lost the World Series and so they were a bit bummed.
That's one. I know that's one theory that was posed to me as to why the crowd was bad, is because the town they were in, I don't know where it was, lost the World Series.
Yeah.
I did have a bit more on this in my edited review, but I took it out because I could not be bothered with people having a pop at me about not knowing about the sports. I literally
wrote the World Series.
I wrote down in my note, glad it's only touchdowns. It doesn't matter.
It's not even touchdowns.
Well, I know that's why I took it out, because I know it's not, but I don't think people would know that I know that it's not.
I like a baseball as much as anybody, except that anybody has to be not from America, because Americans obviously love their baseball very much, but surely not that much. Not enough to tank an entirely separate entertainment show.
I've never seen a baseball game. Also known as my brother, when he was in America, went to go see one, and he said it was the most boring 4 hours of his life. So that is my only
Did you have
review.
a nice hot dog at least?
I think you might have done that.
There you go. Yeah.
Up next was Baron Corbin versus Cedric Alexander. Very short match. This Baron Corbin won with the end of days. It was, usual Baron Corbin stuff.
More of the same, still working for me is what I've written down.
Yeah. But as I said in my edited review, it was totally worth it because JBL busted out a line that I don't think he has said since the build to Invasion, which is, yum yum, come get you some.
Print it on a t-shirt now. Yum yum, come get you some. Come get you some.
Yum yum, come get you some. We're gonna see who the phony tough and the fake brave are. Like all this nonsense tough guy bravado that he's got. Yum yum, come get you some.
Did you hear what Kevin Patrick said on his way to the ring? He said, I wonder what he's got up his sizable sleeves, which is another funny line about JBL's bad tailoring. Big fan of that.
Seth Rollins tried to have an open challenge. It was answered by the Judgment Day.
It was.
Presumably Finn Balor, but that we never got to really find that out.
Because he was saying, you cost me some gold and now I want it back.
Yes, so presumably it was going to be Finn. The OC came out instead and Seth bailed because he's a smart guy and he's 100% turning babyface. He's got blonde hair now.
There you go.
And the OC were in the ring with the Judgment Day. And, Finn Balor's there being like, look, we've beaten you. Like, we've done this. And he's like, well, you didn't really beat us because it's not 3-on-3.
Nope.
It's always 3-on-4.
Yep.
And we could not find a solution to the Rhea Ripley problem. But a solution found us.
And I was waiting for Beth Phoenix's music to play.
Out of nowhere, Mia Yim attacks Beth Phoenix at ringside. A big brawl breaks out, and the OC, they didn't say that she is just affiliate, like she is part of this group now. She is part of this faction, and they posed in the middle of the ring. I'm really happy for Mia Yim. I love Mia Yim. I think she is a terrific, terrific wrestler. I'm glad she's been given this second shot.
Yeah, it's time for Rhea Ripley to have a reckoning. Did you get it?
Yeah. No, I did get that one. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Thank you.
I'm actually, do you know what I wouldn't have done? But it was on the tube ride in. I was like, oh my God, she was in Retribution.
Yeah, she really was.
I nearly said in my review it was her main roster debut.
Well, it might as well be.
And it kind of is because that was Reckoning. And this is Mia Yim.
Exactly.
So they are two different people.
Props to Kevin Dunn for absolutely missing it. Well done. What we got was she found us. And instead of some music hitting, I heard a bing, as Rhea Ripley bounced off the ring post, and then we cut to Rhea just on the floor.
Yeah.
And it was like, Kevin.
Come on, Kev.
Give us a wide shot.
Yeah, we've got to talk about Kev.
But Mia looked great. I'm high on Mia Yim. I like her a lot.
When I saw the blue hair through the thing, I was like, oh man, Mia Yim?
And
that's great.
Wouldn't have occurred to me. So it's a really good shout. And
really good.
She fits quite nicely, I think, with the OC as well.
So I'm massively looking forward to it. I think she was not given a fair shake of the stick in her first WWE run.
Yeah.
She had a great interview with Denise Salcedo where she felt like a joke.
Yeah.
Because her WWE run had been so bad, and it gave her like massive anxieties about wrestling.
Yeah.
And I think the run that she had in Impact, which was dead good, it's really revitalized her. So I'm so thrilled that she's been given this opportunity.
And it's a high-profile thing because Judgment Day the best thing on the show.
Oh, aren't they just?
Yeah.
Aren't they the best thing?
We got 2 mummies now.
It's true. We'll
do get into that in a bit when we do the segment later.
Yeah, Dom actually called her mummy. Your future ex-wife, Kathy Kelly, caught up with Seth. I didn't get to talk. I did get to talk about this last week. Did you see her Halloween get-up where she was Ash Ketchum?
Did I see it? Luke, I had to take a breath for a while because it was a lot. I was very excited. I had to put down the game of Pokemon I was playing to really just like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Has anyone got a seat that I can sit on?
Yeah, anyway, but no, my Kathy, she hasn't followed me back on Twitter yet, but I imagine that's just because she's waiting to sort of see what the lay of the land is in the Elon world before she decides to ultimately follow me back and we can begin the greatest love story ever told.
Otis then took on Elias. This Elias push is going so well, he lost to Otis here.
You know the story about Otis learning to read this week?
Oh, beautiful story.
If I could love this man anymore.
I know.
I swear to God. And like, I you know me in the Alpha Academy, I'm big fan of them both. I think they're great. Bye-bye, Elias. Suddenly out of nowhere, just because he wasn't even with his bandmate, Matt Riddle.
No. Well, Matt Riddle had taken the loss earlier, I guess.
Hit the owl. So, but sure, I like Otis very much. This was a match that happened.
Yeah. I'm glad Otis won in a way, I guess, because...
They're listening. Alpha Academy victories, please. Rack them up.
Well, Otis is certainly winning. This is a match that, I mean, we can't really spend too much time on this because there's not a lot to say, but I don't know what they're building to with Otis.
No.
Because Otis, this is like the second singles win that he's picked up in the last handful of weeks, but then they, as a tag team, just lose. So it's like, I'm not really sure what we're working towards. Because I don't think we're working towards an Alpha Academy split.
No.
So I don't really know what the purpose of much of this was, other than it's a 3-hour show and we do have to fill time.
This is the problem with the lack of tag team championships elsewhere, where they're being all tied up. It gives Alpha Academy nothing to go for.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. So, because Raw is a 3-hour show and it doesn't have the luxury that SmackDown does, in which you've got 3 wrestlers that all have 10-minute intros.
Yeah.
Because
you got to use your 1 5-minute intro twice.
Oh yeah, well, like if you're booking SmackDown, you're like, I've got to fill time here. It's like, well, I should do a carrying cross match because that's at least a 15-minute segment, and most of that is the entrance.
Yeah, there you go. Job done.
Judgment Day freaked out backstage, but Rhea isn't worried about Mia Yim.
Yeah.
And this is when Dominic Mysterio called Rhea Mummy.
Mummy
knows best.
Mummy knows best.
And they teased a showdown between Belair and Rhea Ripley.
Which I thought was weirdly placed because it came just after Mia debuted. So if you're going to present us with... I mean, it's the idea of at some point in the future, not now, sure. But it was just like...
Well, that's the thing. It's like, so I've seen some people say that perhaps Rhea Ripley will be the fifth member for Team Bayley at War Games. But I thought we'd just set up a Survivor Series match with Judgment Day and the OC.
It makes no sense for her to go there, especially because later on in the show there is nothing between Rhea and Bianca. I think this was just one of those things where it's like, we have to do this at some point
because we were going to do this earlier in the year, and then we didn't do it because Rhea got ill.
That's true.
So we've still got it cooking. We're just spinning that plate. I didn't mind it. Speaking of things that I did mind, Bianca Belair and Friends came out.
Friends.
Okay, so the segment was boring anyway because I've seen this and I'm tired of watching them beat up Damage Control.
Yeah.
Nikki Cross joined the ranks. It wasn't joined Damage Control, but she's part of their whatever. And it was just every single segment that these lot have had since Bayley came back at SummerSlam. But the thing that pissed me off the most is that Asuka and Alexa Bliss looked like they could not have cared less that they lost the tag titles of the weekend.
Yeah.
Why should I care about these women tag titles if the women that just lost them after winning them 5 days earlier don't give a fuck? Like, why? Because it angers me so much when people don't care that they lose titles.
Yeah.
Because it makes the titles feel even more worthless than they already are.
And when they're being hot potatoes as well.
And it's not on Bliss and Asuka. This is what they're told to do.
Yeah.
And I think that is actively bad.
I agree. We did have a little...
I need to take my shirt off now.
Because you're so heated.
I'm so heated.
We did have a little backstage segment, backstage video, like a fan-captured video, very well-produced fan-captured video, by the way, of a clash between them in the parking lot, which gave you the semblance that there might be some heat. And you have your P.T. Williams. I had my Molly Holly. She was there. I was thrilled about it. But then, the segment starts and they do look fine. And that got you heated in this way. This is the segment that really started to derail the show for me completely because I got really cross on a number of things. Firstly, this is the first time I read it and it felt like a rehearsal.
Yeah.
Because there was so much space, there was so much room between the things they were saying. No one felt like they'd really figured out how to deliver the line with the killer instinct. Secondly, when Dakota says, you haven't beaten Bayley, you can't just assert that in your mind she hasn't beaten Bayley because she objectively has.
She hasn't
twice.
pinned Bayley.
But they didn't say that. She said,
No,
you
so
haven't
you
beaten
beat
Bayley.
Bayley.
Now, what you could say, and this is where it's tiny little tweaks, and it's always this way with Damage Control for me, what you could say is you couldn't keep her down for 10. So you had to resort to a tactic and a gimmick. You had to trap her and stop her. That doesn't count. You didn't knock her out. Bayley had you beat were it not for you trapping her in a ladder. You could say something like that. Because Bayley, I thought, was selling it quite well because she looked mad. And then she was on commentary later on and she just was a little bit like
very strident.
muted.
She was the only person that acted like she had to on this show.
That's exactly it. Dakota was acting really weird. Like a little sort of like, it was a very odd thing. And then we did have the
Asuka and
Io, which I loved, by the way.
Superb.
Have you seen the translation of what they said?
No, I was going to message my friend Karen about it because I know that she would be able to translate it for me, but I never got around to messaging her.
Granted, I've only seen a video, so I don't know the 100% accuracy of this, but it seems pretty, basically what they said was Asuka was like, just admit it, you can't beat us on ability. And Io said, why can't you just accept the fact that you lost? And then Asuka says, oh, you speak Japanese? I didn't know that. And Io says, yeah, of course I can speak Japanese. What are you talking about? And then Asuka says, oh, I just didn't know you could speak it. I thought you were stupid. Stupid. You're stupid. And then she kept saying stupid.
Because that was a bit of commentary. They're like, well, I know what that word means.
Yeah. And then I loved the fact that really all they're saying to each other is, you're a bit thick. How about that? and I was like, yeah, bash each other. I want to see a feud between these two. And I don't care if they speak a word of English once.
No.
Like, they're that good. It doesn't actually matter what you say as long as you buy it.
It's the only bit of this I'm still into is Asuka and Io.
Very that, because we haven't really seen that in any way. But yeah, the whole thing felt like a rehearsal. I'm just cross because it's not far from savaging. But then when Bianca does say, this isn't a battle, I was like, this is a war. And then she says, this is a war. It's time for war games. It's time for war games. I was like, fine. But why would you argue war games? Because you are currently less than them. You have less people than them.
Which brings us to the question of who will be the rest. Because they do announce later on in the show that it is going to be 5-on-5. Yeah. So it is Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky with Nikki Cross with a fifth member with vacant against Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, and Asuka with two vacant. So Candice LeRae potentially being one of them.
Yeah.
And I guess Dana Brooke.
Well, I mean, you could have. She has a reason to join them.
Yeah.
Because she's there now and she's lost the title and then Nikki's disrespected her and all the work she's put into building the 24/7 title to be a legitimate title.
Yeah. And I don't want it to be Mia Yim and Rhea Ripley.
No.
Because that takes them up. Because otherwise then it's just we're doing the 3-on-3 that we just did at Crown Jewel.
Yeah. So no. And that storyline exists separately and I don't want that to become part of because it diminishes two stories.
Yeah.
I think seeing two vacant spaces is going to make you go, Sasha and Naomi. But I would rather... Why do they have to come back together?
Because they left together.
Yes, and they were tag team champions when they left, and they could make... The argument could well be, you have those belts, but we're the champions.
I still like the idea of just bringing them back with those belts. And just being like... because I know that in the real world, they left the belts on Johnny Ace's desk, but you can fake that and just be like, no, and just do a title unification match at... the Royal Rumble or like a main event of Raw or something.
Yeah. Probably main event of Raw, I would say for that. But like, what if Bayley brings back Sasha?
I like the idea of Banks being on her team and the Bayley Banks connection.
Yeah.
I think would be really, really great.
Because the point of Damage Control, if we forget, because they have messed it up so badly, but the point of Damage Control is people who were left behind and not treated very well. Who wasn't treated very well?
Sasha Banks.
So there's a justification for it.
Plus, you can then do the storyline of Sasha Banks trying to take over the leadership of Damage Control.
And kick Bayley out and turn Bayley face because I want that to happen because it's not worked.
I like her as a heel.
I love her as a heel.
But this has been pretty bad since SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Like, it was funny, I came to this realization on the Crown Jewel show where I was like, they had a really good run that Ollie kept mentioning all the times they didn't. I was like, oh yeah, this actually has been quite bad.
Yeah,
I've all times.
I've been inclined to give it as much space as possible and to be as generous to it as possible. But lately it has been bad to the point where when they won the belts back at Crown Jewel, I was like, oh. And I thought then Bayley was going to win the women's belt, so they would have all three, but no.
Tegan Knox has the shout-outs in the chat, particularly because you got the team kick thing with her and Kai.
But Kai did turn on Tegan Knox in a War Games match. So
yeah, but, bygones be bygones.
That's a pretty big bygone.
So,
that's like walking back into your trigger.
People who were forgotten about, Tegan Knox.
Yeah.
She was kicked to the wayside.
There you go, I suppose.
Speaking of, I suppose, Austin Theory beat Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose.
I, funnily enough, had watched a compilation of Shelton Benjamin moments on on Twitter. I think either Lance Storm or Shane Helms had tweeted it out and been like, he's a real one. And it was just, Shelton Benjamin.
God, he was great.
So great. And I do like, the thing is, the notes that I wrote for this don't count anymore. They've gone. By the end of the show, because I was like, oh great, so you're putting you did the thing where he like trash talks Seth too long, and then he's naive because he's not got that instinct because he's still quite young. So you place him against a veteran like Shelton Benjamin, and the whole point of it was he was calling me a dinosaur, and I'm not. Don't count me out yet.
Also, Shelton's got connections to Brock Lesnar,
exactly,
and Bobby Lashley,
and you still win. And like, okay, so it's good for the idea that he can be that arrogant. That's what makes those moments when his arrogance gets the better of him more impactful. Don't matter. It's all gone away.
I also, because we had Cedric and Shelton on this show, and Bobby feels like he has turned heel.
Yeah,
and
big time.
Bobby said in an interview while he was out in Saudi Arabia that it's his current mission to reform the Hurt Business. I did have the thing in the back of my mind. I was like, all three of them run this show, and like Alexander and Benjamin lost.
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley just one backstage segment of the three of them together.
Yeah.
Be like, okay, this is where we're heading next. Because put MVP back with him, take him away from Amos.
It definitely felt pointed because you could have anyone against Baron Corbin, and you pick Cedric Alexander.
Yeah.
And then for Shelty B to be there as well.
I'd love to see them do Her Business versus Imperium. At
I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Just literally just popped in my mind there because I was like, who do you do at Survivor Series? Oh, Imperium.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm in. Yeah.
Then we got The Miz versus Johnny Gargano. So, Miz cut a promo to start this off, and he said that he had dinner with a Hollywood producer, and he's going to get his story told in a movie about him and Dexter.
Yeah.
Everyone believes Johnny Gargano. Even my dad believes him. Miz Dad reference, 5 out of 5 show. He's also contacted his lawyers to go up against Johnny Gargano's fake claims. Johnny Gargano then comes out. Oh man, this feud is making him very unlikable. And he reveals that this Hollywood producer was actually a private investigator wearing a hidden camera. And here is that footage. And the footage was Miz admitting that he paid Dexter Lumis to attack him. Granted, answering a very leading question by this quite bad private investigator. Because this
I promise. Hang on. Let me shut the mic.
Because the private investigator said, if what Johnny Gargano said is true, you're a genius. And that was when Miz was like, okay, I'll just say that it was true then. Which I think will be the justification to try and eke this out more and more and more. But he does say that it was true. He paid off Dexter Lumis, then he couldn't afford it anymore, blah, 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 blah. And Gargano also fast-forwarded some of the footage, which I guess they'll also use as a way to try and extend the storyline further. I've written here, this got no reaction, but that is not unique to this segment.
Yeah.
So I thought all of that was it wasn't bad. It was just a bit, which is sort of might have been my reaction to the Johnny Gargano thing last week. I didn't think it was bad. I was like, I think I'm past caring.
That's the key detail. Because we spoke about this last week when you were in Absentia. And it was very much a case of this was really entertaining 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's I don't care anymore. And I was one of the ones, because I'm a Miz apologist. I'm one of the ones who was giving this as much as I could. Another thing that was put to you guys on the Content Club was that the Bloodline storyline is just basic storytelling. And I got quite cross while I was listening to that, because it isn't. Because the Bloodline storyline is multifaceted and layered, and it's a full network of things, and it's a lot of different characters with lots of different motivation, and they're all coming together in this one tension-building thing. This is basic storytelling, because your basic storytelling is plot, character, motive, and then conflict, and then resolution. So we've got that. We've got all of those things, but the structure of it is not being executed well.
Yeah.
When things are basic, that does not mean they are bad. There are a few things in this world better than a Victoria Sponge. That is a basic cake. When it's done well, it's delicious. When it's done badly, it's like, what's that? And that's what's happening now with this. This as a plot, this even as a contrivance of he was paying Dexter Lumis, all of it, fine. 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now, don't care. The match, though.
So,
Tell me the Miz was great.
Oh, this match was awesome. This match was so great. I said in my review, it's the best Miz match since 2016.
Whoa.
Since he had that really... And people keep saying that he had a great run in 2016. We figured out in the office he had a good 2-week run in 2016. Where he had both that Talking Smack segment and the Dolph Ziggler match.
Oh, when the shackles are off the Miz, let me tell you, there's nothing better.
So great. But they were also right next to each other.
Yeah.
And actually the rest of his 2016 was broadly fine. Some people have also said that he had a good match with Rollins on a pay-per-view. I mean, when I say some people, Tempest said that, but he's also, a stickler for boring things. But this match was so good. So great. It was back and forth. It was an NXT style match.
Yeah.
It's a Johnny Gargano NXT style match. And I really liked it. It felt like Miz elevated his game. He didn't go out there to do his usual 2.5 star match. He went out there to be like, no, I'm going to have a really good banging match with Johnny Gargano.
And they going wrong.
And prove me wrong. Glad, please do. Please do. I like being proved wrong. The world is much better when things are better, and I like them.
The world is much better when you are wrong.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, that happens a lot. You'd have thought that we'd have solved world hunger by the time I'm wrong. And it had a really creative finish where Miz went to the outside and he was then pulled under the ring, very clearly pushing himself. But he was like, oh no, I'm being pulled under.
Yeah.
And so he escapes out with the turnbuckle crank thing. And the referee comes out and is like, he's under the ring. So the referee jumps out and is checking. And he's like, Miz, I can't see anything. He's like, no, he's there. Johnny Gargano comes up, bonk, behind the referee's back. Miz pins him. I thought it was a great finish to an awesome match.
And the look on Miz's face was really great as well. It really
so good.
Yeah.
It's the best thing that's happened in this storyline. The actual wrestling match. And then Dexter Lumis attacked Miz with a chair, and I was like, oh yeah, you're in this.
Yeah, it's just all of it's for... And I'm like, oh no, there's going to be more.
Because that won't be as good as Miz versus Gargano.
I just don't want it.
Yeah.
It's just a shame, because I was so hype, and now I'm not.
Then we get to this segment here, which is backstage. Damage Control are with Nikki Cross, and they basically hire her into their Survivor Series team match, and then say, now go out and take Dana Brooke. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
What are you got against Dana Brooke?
Also, Nikki was doing crazy pacing, but the frame was quite tight, so she couldn't go very far. So it all felt very devised drama A level.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't like it. But Golden Corral, they love hiring veterans. They only mentioned it 16 times during the show.
Oh, okay.
So I wrote it down because it got on my nerves.
Well, do you know what?
Sponsor,
Do you know what I wrote down in my notes?
Please.
We got a bit of the American feed in this before it cut to the BT Sport adverts. And it was The Rock walking up to an arcade cabinet of WrestleFest and being like, oh, WrestleFest, what a game for my childhood. Then it comes around and Randall Park is stood there. And I'm like, whoa, what's this? It's The Rock and WrestleFest and Randall Park. And it's like BT Sport. And I'm like, no BT Sport. Bring back The Rock and Randall Park.
Oh, jeez.
Because I love Fresh Off the Boat.
Yeah.
It's such a great show, and I think Randall Park's amazing. But anyway.
BT was saying no.
BT did say no. This then led to Dana Brooke versus Nikki Cross for the 24/7 championship.
They said the 24/7 title is on the line, to which I went, yeah, it's always on the line. That's the point.
Well, it was being specifically defended in this match. And I think, and I haven't gone to check this, but I think this is the first time it's been defended since Triple H took over.
Yes, I would 100% support that.
And I was like, as soon as this match started, I was like, this is the end of the title. This is the only reason this belt is on TV is because this belt is being gotten rid of. And sure enough, Nikki wins the title and then walks away with it. And in a YouTube exclusive...
It wasn't, because it was on the show.
Was it on the show? Was it really?
I saw that in your review. I was like, no, I saw this.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah, it happened canon. It is live
on
the air.
I do apologize, because I did think, why would you just put that onto YouTube?
Yeah.
That's me fast forwarding
during
the ad breaks.
You missed it. Because I certainly didn't, because I watched it 3 times. I rewound.
Because this segment is magical.
Is it? Because I'm Cross.
Are you Nikki Cross?
Hey!
It's Nikki Cross with the belt on her shoulder, walking zombie-like around the backstage area with Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky sort of flanking her, looking a bit weirded out by her. And the idea was that Nikki Cross was going to not take the belt off her shoulder, but it was just going to sort of like slump off her shoulder, and she was just going to throw it into a bin. And she gets a rim shot, and it falls to the floor,
Clatters.
and they carry on walking. And my first thought was, you couldn't have done a second take?
Thank you. Because
it's not that long. But they were like, we've wasted enough hard drive space on this already.
Do you know what I mean?
We've got it. It's fine.
No, that is the world's biggest bin, and you missed. How could you? And they didn't. Like, I'm sorry. If you were shooting it live, why? There was no opportunity to do a second take. Like, this is what made it feel like a rehearsal rather than a real televised program. This really made me angry. Because why? Put that on television. Show your ass. Doesn't really matter. Kevin Dunn, get out. Not fan. Very cross.
And
also, this is not nitpicking. We and any wrestling reviewer gets called out for nitpicking. I'm sorry. You were going to put that in the bin, the world's biggest bin, and you missed. Do a second take. I'm sorry. Go back over there. Go the 10 meters where you were. Carry on walking. We'll do a second take, and that'll go live. Because if you want me to buy that your show is important and must watch and good, then you need to show it. You need to put the effort in.
A great point you made there is that this didn't need to be done live. It could be done as a pre-tape.
No, it was very quick. Very quick.
Very easily could be done as a pre-tape.
Maybe cross.
Anywho, my favourite part of this is when Dana Brooke lost, Corey Graves said, I didn't even have time to say anything bad about Dana Brooke to rile her up on the internet.
I felt really bad about that.
I felt really sorry. I feel so sorry for Dana Brooke in all of this. I feel so massively sorry for Dana Brooke because, yes, the 24/7 title is a joke. And yes, no one cares about it. And yes, it was once the belt used to cover up Drake Maverick's knob for a comedy.
Yeah.
But it did mean something to Dana Brooke. Like, when she won this belt, everyone was like, good for you, Dana. Like, you smashed through some glass ceilings and you won this belt. Yeah, sure, we all thought it was naff, but it meant something to her. And then Seth's making fun of her, like, on commentary a couple of weeks ago, and Corey Graves is making fun of her here. And now she's like, that title that I have been trying to make good for the last few months, you literally threw it in the bin.
This is the thing. So the title needed to go in the bin.
Sure did.
Don't get me wrong.
Bad title.
Like, in that second take, when it landed in the bin, I would have been all for it. The title needed to go in the bin. It just feels like, and this is, again, part of the pressing the reset. Triple H is getting rid of certain things that just make no sense. The Vince era dead. La la la, gone. I feel bad for Dana because Dana has been through some stuff and worked really hard. And I she's not necessarily the most gifted. She's not necessarily the best performer, but she's really working on it. She's doing her thing. Respect. And the 1-2 punch of it being like, oh yeah, the 24/7 title exists, and Corey Graves having a go at her at the end of the match, for me, felt really pointed and quite sad, and I didn't like it.
It was unnecessary.
It left a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah. We talk about this on the WrestleTalk Reacts video that'll be going up onto the main WrestleTalk channel very, very shortly, probably in the next hour or so. So Pete and I will dive into this a little bit more on that. But yeah, I do feel bad.
I feel for her.
I feel bad for Dana Brooke in all of this. Last thing to talk about, I suppose, is the Bobby Lashley Seth stuff, which we did cover earlier, so we won't go beat by beat. But you said you thought this was double turn.
For me, this was a very clear double turn. I think we've been teasing that with Seth, but I think the Seth saying I've been here 10 years, we get a big thank you, Seth chant. Then the I've been absolutely beaten up, but I'm gonna take the match. Yes, so I'll take the match and I'll fight and I'll kick out of everything. That was incredibly babyface, and of course he's blonde now. So I think that 1, 2, 3, that's a turn. I think Bobby has been teasing a heel turn with the Brock stuff. I think him being happy to be elitist and at the back when Brock came out to the ring, and then beating up Brock after the match after he lost clean, and then not even taking the match, beating up Ole in the back, beating up. He's going on a heel tear. I think this was a double turn. I think it was the only effective thing about this segment.
Yeah, and I'm all for I've been saying for a while, I think Seth should have turned babyface.
Yeah,
because the crowd are just the crowd are the hottest for Seth. I mean, not this crowd, because this crowd was hot for nothing.
Yeah,
but
I mean, they were hot for Seth.
They will chant his theme song.
Yeah, and they did say thank you, Seth. I hope they don't take away some of his teeth. I hope they don't take away the smarminess of it, because that works in this character. So, but no, I think it's a double turn.
Well, thank you so much for watching this. I gave the episode 4 out of 5 in the end. Well, what would you have scored this out of 5?
1.5 to 2. And those stars are for the heel face turn, for the Usos at the beginning, and for Kathy Kelly.
Not for Mia Yim?
No, I'm good for Mia Yim, but, you know, Kevin Dunn missed it, so I couldn't give it any points.
Not for the Miz wrestling real good?
Oh, well, that's the standard. I expect that.
You don't get bonus points for that.
No.
Well, I mean, actually, I thought one of your stars might be for Molly Holly.
Oh, no, that's on a whole other plane, you know.
We've got to say some special thank yous to some. Oh, no.
No.
Nope, it's fine. The mics are still on. I think I'll turn the mics off for a second then. But I can now play the Hall of Fame music that I believe is now leveled better.
Good. Okay.
Because I leveled it bad last time. Dan, I'm going to have... Should we have a celebratory quality street?
Yeah.
Would you like the fudge or would you like the orange cream?
Orange cream.
Yeah?
Thank you.
There you go. We're feeling a bit... I bought some festive stuff in the office, so let's get some foley there, and then... You're not close to the microphone.
Oh my god. I'm going to have to talk now.
Yeah. So,
great content.
Mukbang. We've got some great stuff coming up on Patreon. So we had the mailbag go up. Tomorrow will be WrestleTalk Behind the Scenes, which is actually the four of us, so me, Ollie, Pete, and Tempest, going a lot into Survival Series and how Survival Series came about and the filming of Survival Series.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really fun chat. The week after that will be WrestleTalk After Dark, which is an all-star lineup of Pete, Adam, Sullivan, and Editor Terry.
Goodness me.
Editor Terry is coming in on her day off to record After Dark today.
Love that.
Love that indeed. And then the week after that, it will be Ollie Davis and I reviewing Survivor Series 2003.
Wow, that won.
That won the poll.
Do you know Survivor Series 2003 used to be my desktop background for a bit? They released the picture of it, and so I remember back in the day I used to change it for each pay-per-view. That's what I remember of Survivor Series 03. The card, not a clue.
Oh, well, I mean, it is a wacky, please come back Attitude Era fans card.
Great.
It is, looking at it on paper, it is the most desperate show WWE ever put on of begging people to come back.
Oh, is this Buried Alive?
It's Undertaker and McMahon. It's Shane versus Kane.
Yeah.
Team Austin versus Team Bischoff.
Great.
It is a desperate attempt to bring back Attitude Era fans, and it did not work. But we can also shout out some of our special $25 and above Pledgehammers here on the show. The Baker, Adam Cakebread.
The Machine Gun, Alex Anderson.
The Shrockmaster, Austin Shrock.
Archbishop Badass of Banterbury, Shawn Michaels' biggest fan, Brett Guy. I don't know if that was...
No, those are two different people.
Well, there you go. Two different people in one go.
Chris Hellfire Brimstone.
Infinite Crisis, Chris Jenkins.
No Fozzie required, Chris Mayers.
All-Star, Chuck Turner.
The Mayor of Painesville, Dan.
Dr. Hook, Nolan Evans.
And the last shout-out for this, the Tuesday, the 8th of November, 2022 Hall of Fame class, Send Me to Heaven, Evan Reich. Thank you all so much for being amazing Pledgehammers over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Go and get some bonus goodies, including early access to Monday Night War episodes. So, let's get into the rest of your Ultra Chats. We're kicking things off with Ligas King, who says, they have had one of my favorites on the roster, Gargano, lose to two of my least favorites in Miz and Corbin recently. But why?
The crucial question is, but why?
Hannah Allen said, hello, lovelies. OMG, the show was not fun. I just finished at the gym, bouncing to some Lizzo,
Great.
Juice OC, was really just looking forward to some positivity and good vibes. Then Raw, flat, sad, hitting a bong, whispering low, soft energy Japanese, unhappy face.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this episode of Raw.
And I'm thrilled for you.
I thought it was a stupid episode. And I've kind of missed...
I like stupid.
I have missed wrestling chaos.
But this wasn't chaos. This was bad.
That final 20 minutes was absolute chaos. Yeah. That was throwing a whole lot of spaghetti at the wall and seeing how much of it is actually cooked and sticks to it. And there was just lots of dry pasta, like just falling off, clattering against the wall and falling off.
But now I've got to clear up all the pasta. Like, I don't want to.
Oh, I know. And Triple H is like, well, there you go.
I don't want to, Triple H.
There's your Raw.
Awful.
Evan said, I tried to be as positive as I can, but boy, this show was rough. I was so mad when Riddle interrupted that opening promo, and then there was the mess of a main event. Some good spots, but not good enough to get rid of that bad taste in my mouth. To be honest, a high 2 out of 5.
Goodness, even that's generous.
Charles Berg says, unfortunately, the Dexter Lou Miz dream has died. I like to apologize to everyone. Unfortunately, my ideas are just too good, and WWE aren't brave enough. If only they went with my superior storyline, it would be the hottest thing in wrestling for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, those 2 weeks would have been wonderful, alas.
Chris here says, what a difference a week makes. Last week I was happy looking forward to an Alexa title reign, but now I'm back being depressed about her booking, deeply disappointed in Triple H for not booking her. It's almost as bad as Vince. Let's not go that far.
Oh, no, I mean, very few things are that far.
I'm really disappointed he's given her a token title reign to boost ticket sales. That's not why he did it. It's just so they could then put the title belts back.
Yeah.
Now she's jobbing to Nikki, and Wyatt will end her career so she can be released before she walks next year. I don't think that's happening either. The last few weeks have felt more like the Triple H Vince era Triple H seems to have a problem with progressing a storyline. We have to see Damage Control brawling with, I like that he's called her Alexa and Friends, when it is very much Bianca and Friends. Miz being stalked for ages. I also, the 24/7 title comes across like the women's IC title.
That's what Dana was trying to say, but I think it's very much clearly in the bin now. I also think I'm intrigued. I actually would have, well, it depends on what they're going to do with it, but that little Bray sting in Crown Jewel was quite entertaining. I liked that. And the crowd bought it. It was very like, whoa, cool. Okay, we're going to do something with this. And I know that Alexa was frustrated that they never really got to explore the depths of that storyline. I thought Bray was going to, that if they'd have done that moment in the match and given rather than Nikki Cross interfering, that would have been really interesting.
I like Ollie's theory that Alexa is the misdirect, and he's already recruited Nikki to target Alexa Bliss. So it's not him going after Alexa, it's him targeting Alexa.
Okay, that's interesting.
I don't hate that.
No, I don't either.
Can I hot tag across to you,
please,
to do the Ultrachats?
That was the worst high five I've ever given, but we'll take it.
My daughter does a really good high five.
Oh, I've lost to a 1-year-old. Brian Moore says Lashley cut himself running Theory into the post, which is the second time that's happened. He had a scar on his cheek for over a year after doing the post run to Ricochet. Lashley scarred himself twice by kicking too much ass. Lashley is a badass. That scar did look good on his chest.
Cool.
It was a really cool. I was like, oh, hello. Sky Shadowrun says, sigh. And I agree. Somebody take those bongos away from Riddle. I hope you're both doing well. I had a lot of fun, but I'm easily sports entertained. Random question, but do you see Robert Roode being pushed at all if and when he returns?
Yeah, I believe he's doing backstage stuff at NXT.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm easily sports entertained too, and this just didn't do it for me. Bobby Roode, I think, world title? No. Impact player, US title, no one pun intended, US title and Intercontinental title, possibly.
Yeah, if they can bring him back with Glorious.
Yeah, because the character was great, and as NXT champ, I think he looked $1 million. So yeah, but at this stage of his career, what's he want to do, and where are his skills best suited? Yeah. That's the key question. Gabriel Reyes, I was admittedly a little on a high when watching Raw last night. Perhaps you'd hit a bong. It's very clever. Got my driver's license and finally got a job outside of retail. Well played. So I enjoyed myself. That being said, they still should have done something different. Maybe NXT champ as they teased.
Yeah.
Can't disagree with you there.
Yeah.
Kid Phantom V3. I thought Raw was decent last night, and I get the way it was done for the chaos of the final hour, and with Riddle with the New Day and the Usos was good. But the execution of everything was handled badly, which I think why it felt like a bad Triple H Raw.
Yeah.
I think at this point, it is just Raw. Like, it's not even Triple H versus Vince Raw. This is just... It's now his. So we almost need to put Vince to bed, especially because he's trying to get us to do that with the choices he's making. But the execution of it all was very just like first draft. Come on, try harder. Tails P. OMG, Corbin won on his own. Did Heavy Machine... Oh, yeah, there were very few interferences.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. Did Heavy Machinery ever get a tag title match? Mia Yim is back. Do you think she'll do Keith Lee moves like Charlotte with Andrade? You haven't beaten Bayley. Bayley chose the match. She chose the ladder match too. This is it. It's logic. The logic isn't there. German Chavez. Good morning, guys. I agree with Luke. I was thoroughly sports entertained. Fair enough. Io versus Asuka at Mania. Have a great day, both of you. I would love to see it.
I would love to see that as well. In answer to Tails' question, I don't think that Mia Yim will be doing Keith Lee style moves.
No, I think not quite.
But I'd like to see Io versus Asuka at Mania. That'd be great.
Yeah, big time. Will Campbell, despite the theory thing, there were things that I liked. That first 45 minutes to an hour of the show between the New Day and the Usos and the match was absolutely brilliant. The crowd reminded me of my first Raw in 2019. To quote Sean Ross Sapp, the crowd was ass cheeks. Yes.
This crowd was ass cheeks.
They really were. And that first 45 minutes was great, and that's what was frustrating. Gabrielle Reyes back again. This is how you know Nikki is a true heel. Everyone knows that jerks miss the bin and just walk away. She was littering. That's exactly right.
Litter.
She littered.
Nikki Cross.
Furious.
Tisk. You know what Scotland looks like because of littering.
You careful. Scots quite passionate about their land.
Oh, I mean, I agree, and as they should. It's a beautiful country, but like I saw the pictures coming out of Edinburgh.
Yeah. Will Campbell, despite the theory thing, there were... Oh, no, I've done that one already. I've done that one too.
Jordan
QB11. Hey, guys, so for Friday, I think to make the tag match more interesting, they should have an injury angle on Jimmy, causing Sammy to have to tag with Jay that night. I think it would give every near fall more emotion, plus all the tension with the bloodline. I actually think it's so emotional and so tense anyway. I don't think they need to do any shit.
I agree.
Because it's one of those things of like, if they win, then they break the New Day's record. It's that day. I think the dates work out. Is that day.
Amazing how it's lined up.
You know, it's perfect. If they lose, then this is the beginning of the wheels falling off the bloodline, and that's enough emotion for me without any Sammy shenanigans.
I completely agree.
But you know, curious. Oliver Barcello, I know it's early, but who are your top 3 picks to win the Royal Rumble, minus Sammy, Cody, or Nakamura?
Nakamura's certainly not. Cody, I think, is a good front runner because he'll probably do his big return at the Rumble.
Yeah,
Cody is probably my number 1, unless it's going to be Rock and Roman, and Rock is the surprise entry in the Rumble, and the Rock wins the Rumble.
Because this is the thing: is that I think at this point, realistically, whoever wins the Rumble is facing Roman at WrestleMania, and probably will be the person to defeat Roman. That said, if he keeps the belt, he's actually not that far away after WrestleMania from getting to 1,000 days and break. I think it's 800 days today. Mm-hmm. By WrestleMania, it'll be 140 days. So if they can keep it a little bit longer, he'll get 1,000 days as champ, and he'll break the CM Punk reign.
Yeah, I think if it's which would be very good for WWE.
There you go.
I think if it is, surely he's beaten that reign already.
Only with the WWE title. Today is the 219th day of the WWE.
Sorry, apologize.
800 of Universal. So
yeah, sorry, I apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I still think they're going to do Rock and Roman.
Yeah, I mean, if it's there and he's available and he wants to do it, it would be a waste.
It's the time to do it. It's Hollywood. It's the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, Cody would be a good shout too, but I think the time is different.
If Cody wins the Rumble, he has to win the belt.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't think it's the time.
I don't think it's the time.
And I think Cody's probably... I mean, they've said it's probably going to be Cody Seth at Mania if it's anything.
Because that would be a nice way of running that. Give him a little bit more time, because apparently his injury is taking a little longer to heal. I'm not surprised, because it was vile.
It really was.
Frankenfoot. Hi, lads. All year, everyone seems to agree Jericho Appreciation Society versus Blackpool Content Club is getting long in the
Combat Club.
Right? What?
The Combat Club.
Did I say
Content Club? Yeah, we're not feuding with Jericho.
But I would like to see it. But we all worked ourselves into a shoot, because the main argument all year from fans has been, are we sports entertained or this is wrestling? Lol, all makes sense now.
Frankenfoot, I guess you're right.
York Master, not gonna lie, I actively get annoyed whenever you make negative jokes about sports. Doesn't matter the country, people take their favorite sports very seriously. I mean, why else would I watch wrestling videos on YouTube? Be kinder, please. Seriously, love you guys. As a card-carrying Manchester United fan and heading into the World Cup, I vibe. I agree. I know what you mean.
I was gonna say, and people in this country take sports very seriously. Very, very seriously. Yeah. And in fair to you, York Master, you're not the first person to message me saying that you get actively annoyed when I don't care about American football.
What is interesting, though, is that American sports are very exclusive to America. And so when we don't get baseball because we don't have it. So I don't get why a crowd would be so sad at losing the World Series. That's the interesting thing. Yeah. Whereas, with soccer, even that
so if
United lose the FA Cup, I don't think I'm going to.
I mean, no fans are in Manchester anyway. They're all in London. Dan,
my family are in trouble. They've got season tickets, Luke.
The only ones there. We're
proving the point here.
Everyone else is going up the M6 to get to Old Trafford. Stopping off with the wonderful services.
At least we can fill the stadium, not like City.
City. So no, I mean, yeah, it's I find it. Here's the thing: I'm putting my cards completely on the table here. because people get so angry that I get sports wrong, it just makes me do it more.
Yeah, you're a heel.
In a way.
Yeah.
Because do you know who gets the most annoyed about it? Andy Datson. He gets so angry when I get sports wrong on purpose.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Just going to keep doing it because I think it's a bit funny. Tempest gets so mad.
So if you ever take it personally, just picture Andy Datson seething and then you'll be fine. Reggie Marshall is a brand new member.
Hey, welcome aboard.
And Gabriel Reyes, welcome to Fudge Eating ASMR with Luke Owen DAD and the one and only Dan Layton. We absolutely did do that, didn't we?
We did.
That very much was what happened.
Thank you all so much for watching. This show went a bit longer today, but we did have a lot to dive
fun.
into today. We had fun, didn't we, today? So if you have made it this long and it is your first time here, please do press that subscribe button. Give us a big thumbs up. And you share this with your friends and family as well, so they can all come and watch and join in the fun. We will see you on Thursday for the AEW review. It will be Ollie Davis and Sullivan Bo Brown.
Oh, hello.
Because I am not in the office that day.
No.
So thank you all so much. We'll be doing that. And then on Friday, it will be the Blackpool Content Club, as we have essentially a week off before we have back-to-back weeks of pay-per-views.
Oh, goodness.
We have Full Gear and then it's Survivor Series the week after,
Cripes.
But then we essentially get 2 months off because there's no pay-per-view until the Rumble.
Thrilled.
Yeah.
And well, there you go. Raw, not forgetting Raw is XXX.
Oh, yeah, there is that as well.
On January the 23rd.
Well, maybe we'll have some big plans for the Royal Rumble this year. But until then, I have been Luke Owen, DAD. That has been the Professor Dan Layton. Jam that jam, everyone.